Have you ever felt like you've lived somewhere else? Ever met someone that you were sure you knew from a previous life? If so, you're not alone. But did you know there was a time when reincarnation, the rebirth of the soul through many lives, existed in the early snow sect? Then it disappeared without a trace. The question is, who erased it? Why and what did they fear that caused them to ban it forever? Prepare yourself, because the truth is revealed. Going back thousands of years early, Christianity had no unified form. There was no standard Bible, no Vatican, no Pope. There were only small communities and many different beliefs. Among them one was buried. The soul is eternal. It is born before the body, and after the body dies, the soul continues its journey through many lives. This was not reincarnation in the Hindu style, but a more mysterious, deeper concept, taught by a great thinker, Origen, whom the church once considered a genius, before declaring him a heretic. Origen lived in the 3rd century AD. He believed that the human soul existed before birth and that it fell into the world because it had abandoned the divine light. To return to that light, the soul must learn through many lives, each lesson, each mistake, until it reaches enlightenment. For Origen, God was not a punishing God, but a giver of opportunity. The opportunity through many lives to learn and return to divine love. But the church could not accept that 553 AD, an event that would change the history of Christianity forever, took place. The Second Council of Constantinople, under the direction of Emperor Justinian I, a man who was not a bishop but more powerful than the Pope, Origen was condemned. The pre-existence of the soul banned, and with it reincarnation buried, not because it was wrong, but because it threatened the power structure. If people had many lives to correct their mistakes, they would no longer fear hell, they would no longer be controlled by salvation in a single life. And the church would lose its most sacred power, the power to control souls. But strangely enough, there still fragments left in the Bible. The verses are considered metaphorical, but if you read carefully, what do they say? Jesus said of John the Baptist, "You are Elijah, the one who is to come." Elijah had died centuries earlier. How could John be him? In the Gospel of John, the disciples ask, "Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? How could he have sinned before he was born, if not in a previous life?" The clues are there, but you have to know how to look. After the Council of 553, any idea of reincarnation was burned, banned, and denigrated. Since then, for nearly 1500 years, people have known only heaven, hell, and a single life. But the mystical traditions have kept the fire burning. In Kabbalah, the theory of reincarnation is called Gilgul. In Gnosticism, the soul is liberated after many lifetimes of learning in Western esoteric masters. Origen is still considered the bearer of the ancient light. Maybe you don't need to believe in reincarnation. But ask yourself, why was an idea so ancient, so universal, so present in so many civilizations, systematically suppressed in a single religion? And if you feel something is not right, perhaps your intuition is reminding you of what you once knew in another life. Truth never dies. It just sleeps until someone is brave enough to awaken it. If reincarnation is real, if we have lived countless lives, then who is trying to make us forget it? Strange dreams, the feeling of being here, the gaze of a stranger makes you shiver as if your soul recognizes them. It may not be imagination, it may be memory. But why was that memory erased? Why would an entire religion choose to erase its existence? Because a soul that knows it has lived is a soul that is difficult to control. Imagine you have only one chance to live right, one chance to be saved, one chance to escape hell. If you believe that, you will be afraid. And if you are afraid, you will be led. That is how fear is used as a tool. No chains, no swords. Just an idea. You only live once and you must obey. But if you know that you have been a warrior, a scholar, a wanderer, if you know that your soul is older than the teachings, then you will no longer be afraid. And then you will awaken according to the ancient theory of reincarnation. When you die, the soul leaves the body, but it does not disappear. It is led to a place called the astral plane, where souls wait to be reincarnated. There you will review your life like a movie. No one will judge, it is just you facing yourself. And then the soul chooses what lesson will it learn next. Who will it become? Will it come back as rich, poor, male or female to complete what is missing? This is not a punishment. This is an evolutionary journey. There are children who remember their names, their homes even, their own deaths in their past lives. There are people who under hypnosis recount details of a life they never learned about. Science cannot explain everything, but more and more researchers dare to ask questions. Why does a 3-year-old child remember exactly where the village was 200 years ago? Why does a person have a birthmark that is identical to the fatal wound in a strange dream? Maybe. It is not a dream, it is a memory sealed in the soul. You can erase a manuscript. You can burn thousands of manuscripts, but you cannot extinguish the truth that burns in the human heart. Reincarnation does not need to be believed, it needs to be experienced. And if you have ever felt that this world is only a small part, if you have ever looked into someone's eyes and seen something very familiar, then perhaps you have touched a piece of the soul's memory. Welcome back. The moment you were born, you cried. But somewhere deep down inside you, you knew you had agreed to this journey. Sounds crazy, right? Why would anyone choose a life filled with pain, loss, or poverty? But if every soul comes here to learn a lesson, sometimes suffering is the wisest teacher. You choose your parents, you choose your circumstances, you choose your trials for your soul to grow. What you think is random may have been a master plan before you were born, a plan for your soul to train, overcome, and finally remember who you are. If souls are reincarnated to learn who writes the script, who decides whether you will be African, Asian, or a child born in war. According to many ancient mystical and spiritual systems, the soul is not alone. There are entities called spirit guides, higher beings who help you review your past lessons and prepare you for your next life. With them you will choose what challenges have you avoided, what relationships do you need to mend, what karma do you still carry? And what opportunities do you have for awakening this time? There is a strict rule: when the soul reincarnates, the memories are erased. Why? Because if you remember everything, you will not learn anything. You need to forget to start from zero. Just like a difficult game, you cannot cheat by knowing all the answers. But not everything disappears. Fragments of memories will fall into the subconscious. In dreams, in strange hobbies, in invisible, unreasonable fears. And if you are careful enough, you will see what your soul is trying to remind you. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is not reincarnation, but liberation from samsara. The so-called nirvana is the place where the soul will never have to return again. No more karma, no more learning, no more suffering. But to get there, the soul must go through countless lives, must have compassion for those who have harmed you, must be enlightened even in the midst of pain. Perhaps you are on that path yourself, and every time you forgive, understand more, love more, you are unlocking the final lesson. There are people who have felt different since childhood, unable to fit in, unable to explain the sadness for no reason, feeling like I've been here before, lived before, but not with this identity. Have you ever met a stranger and felt like you knew him from another life? Had a strange fear, like fear of water, for no apparent reason? Fascinated by a foreign culture as if you belonged there? This is no coincidence. These are remnants of soul memories, fragments left over from many lives. And if you pay attention long enough, they will lead you back to yourself. It was thought to be just a mystical belief, but dozens of researchers around the world have begun to uncover the truth. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, has recorded more than 200 to 500 cases of young children remembering their past lives. A boy in India was able to tell his name, address, and how he died in his past life, and it was verified. A girl in the US cried when she heard a specific musical instrument, then told of her life as a violinist whom she had never heard of. Those stories cannot be easily dismissed, because the evidence is right in the eyes of children. They have never been taught, but they remember. If reincarnation is true, the whole world will have to redefine what is sin, what is punishment, and who has the right to judge the soul. Religion, politics, power, all of these things will collapse if people realize their souls are immortal. They are responsible for their own karma, and they need no one to save them but themselves. That is the scariest thing for those in power, not because it is wrong, but because it is liberating. When you die, the soul does not disappear. It enters an intermediate state where space and time are no longer the same as we know them. There, the soul reviews the entire life it has just experienced. What you did, what you thought, what you kept silent about to let bad things happen. And then a question echoes in the invisible realm. Do you want to try again? But this is not a compulsion, nor is it a punishment. It is more like an opportunity to make amends. And to do that, you need the right environment, a family, a country, a body. Together with the spiritual guides, the soul chooses its next lesson. Sometimes you will be born into poverty to learn to let go of material things. Sometimes you will be a single mother to understand the value of resilience, or you will be reincarnated as the person you hated in your previous life to learn to forgive. But what is the most terrifying thing? Sometimes you have chosen the greatest pain: to break, then be reborn; to lose, then remember to fall into the abyss, then climb back up with your own light. So the question is no longer, why am I suffering like this? But what am I learning? Not all souls are reincarnated after death. There are souls stuck between two worlds, wandering, confused, full of resentment. They don't remember who they are, they don't know they're dead, and they can't move on. People who die suddenly by accident, suicide, or murder are often so shocked that their souls break down. They deny death. They cling to the physical world, and then they're stuck between life and death. This is no longer a legend. Many psychics, spiritual healers, and hypnotists have noted there are areas of dark energy where souls cannot be released and cannot be reincarnated. Where are these spirits? In abandoned houses, in your recurring dreams, or lingering around loved ones waiting to be heard. Some spirits don't want to leave. They worry about their children. They regret, they are angry, and those emotions become chains, keeping them on earth. How can they be freed? Not through rituals, not through fear, but through forgiveness and light. When the living let go of resentment, when the pain is resolved, when someone dares to say, I understand, you can move on, that spirit is opened the gate to either be reborn or to dissolve into the light. And now look at yourself. Are you living with an unhealed wound? Are there spirits waiting for you to forgive, or are you waiting for yourself? Because sometimes what keeps us stuck is not death, but memories that have not been let go. Here's something not everyone knows. You remember your past life when you were a child. Many children between the ages of 25 can recall stories that no one taught them, no one told them. The name of a stranger, the way they died, a place they've never been. But then when they grow up, they forget everything. Why? Because your education system, your culture, and your beliefs teach you that it's crazy. Stop imagining it. It's not real. And your mind, in order to survive, locks the door to that memory. You don't need a fortune teller or a time machine. What you need is inner silence. When you meditate deeply, when you let go of every idea you once believed to be yourself, when you ask your soul with your heart, not with your words, the memory will not pop like a movie, but will come flooding in as a feeling you can't deny. That's when you know. Not with your mind, but with your intuition. Reincarnation is not banned because it is absurd. It is banned because it empowers the soul. If you have lived many lives, you are not a victim. You are a learner, and you choose your own path. If you understand the law of karma, you will stop complaining and start changing. And if you know that you were once the light, you will never be controlled by darkness. So they have to hide it. They have to edit the Bible. They have to build a system that makes you fear death and fear yourself. But there is one truth that no one can ban you. Your soul remembers. And in time, you will remember too. You will remember too. You will